And we're live. Hello, everyone. My name is Tim Mikhelishvili. I'm CEO and co-founder of Amadev Pharma, also host of the All Out Coach podcast. And today I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Kyle Householder, Field Medical Director at Ionis Pharmaceuticals. Kyle, how are you today?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to join you and support you in this awesome event.
Yes, we're going to talk about an event that is going to transform how we provide feedback to each other, how we innovate, we collaborate in medical affairs, and also how we contribute to the reputation and the development of new next generation products, devices, drugs in healthcare and pharma and biotech as well. So I'm absolutely excited, and it's a special feeling also, Kyle, to know that this is the first time I'm talking about this second uh, annual event now with you, because as I reflected when I planned this discussion with you, the very first time I went live on LinkedIn coincided with the opening day of the Tokyo Olympics, which we did deliberately, if you remember, if you recall.
Mm.
So, yes. And so I'm a huge fan of the Olympics. And also, I think we're bringing in a lot of that sportsmanship and that Olympic spirit, which we were able to do last year. What are some of your favorite Olympic sports, Kyle?
My
Before we get in,
favorite.
yes,
Mm. I mean, I've always got a passion for wrestling, just having been a wrestler growing up,
wrestling.
which is probably not one that most people watch. Um,
Yes.
I'd say curling is a strange one that I fell in love with the Winter Olympics. Just, I don't know, so entertaining to watch for some reason.
Wow, curling as well. Yeah, that's interesting. And so it's funny, but we discovered at the last year's event how many of our colleagues and our experts, leaders, have a sports background, and we had Olympic gold medal winning coaches, Olympians who passed on that torch for innovation and who learned about the scientific method as well. And we learned about the intellectual humility from them as well. But you mentioned curling, and I know you're joining right now from Arizona, very hot Arizona that's breaking records, not the kinds of records we want to hear about, right?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're staying hydrated and you're doing well. So I want to invite everyone here who's in our industry, who's in healthcare, who is personally, individually vested in improving the quality of healthcare as well, to ask some questions. And we have some questions for each other throughout. And this is an informal Q&A about the format of this event. So the adrenaline is now starting to kick in for this event, which will take place September 18th through October 4th. Okay. Uh, and I want to share with you just a little bit of the premise for this year's event, as well as some of the success stories from last year, how you can register, why you need to register, who should be the person or the kind of individual to consider this event. But all of this, I think, takes a vision farther ahead and longer ahead into how it is that we are contributing to quality of care, in our town, in our country, as well as globally, because healthcare by now has become a phenomenon that is very global, more global than ever before. And we in medical affairs uh, are in the business of communication of information as well as generation of evidence, which is now moving more faster than ever before.
Hmm.
And so, last year we we dared each other to share ideas, Kyle. And that was the motto, all right, the slogan for the event, where pharmaceutical companies realized that they can keep their intellectual property, but in order to scale and to speed up innovation, they needed to collaborate. But I think this year the stakes are a little bit different. We've already done that, I think, since last year, better than ever before, in terms of, if you look at many drug launches, and also in medical affairs, we're collaborating across different companies as well. But the themes for this year are really to reclaim our health and revive our planet, right? Seemingly something very, very ambitious, but at the same time, it allows us to challenge ourselves, challenge each other, Kyle,
Mhm.
to understand how it is that our contributions over directly improve, prolong, and save patient lives and outcomes.
I mean,
So that's yeah.
I was gonna say, I think in the context of medical affairs in general, a lot of us, and pharmaceutical industry in general, but especially in medical affairs, we got involved in medical affairs. We love the science, and we want to continually develop that science and our understanding of disease states and drugs, so that we can get that access to the right patients who are going to get that greatest benefit. So I think your theme for this year is in line with medical affairs as a whole, of how can we get these medications, how can we develop the right information and data to best understand who is going to benefit from some of these exceptional medications that are coming out these days, especially.
Yeah, and there are three different scenarios that come to mind that we need to somehow address, and some of them are very controversial. Yet, I think for medical affairs, for quite a long time, I think we've been in our own universe, sort of, if you will. But as Les Brown says, you don't fail when you aim too high and you miss, but when you aim too low and you hit the target. So perhaps we need to aim a little bit higher this year, and also address topics that have been somewhat intriguing, controversial, for medical affairs, including access, for example, right? Access to medications or treatments and diagnostics as well. So the three themes, underlying themes for which we want to encourage you to submit your ideas are access, right, through access to treatments, to clinical trials, real world evidence, right, post-marketing data, R&D, how we work with clinical development, R&D, which is better known probably by the public or others, continuity of care, and EHR, quality of healthcare as well, so through patient outcomes, ESG. And so I alluded to three scenarios, and those scenarios really are: number one, a patient should not have to wait for years until a medication or a treatment becomes available in their town, in their country, right? And I know drug discovery is doing a lot, to speed up development using technology, and merging it with analysis, right? And the human and management of it in a responsible way. Another one is a patient who moves from one healthcare system to another should be able to own their own data, their healthcare data, when they move from one system to another, because a lot of the EMR, right, records are not interoperable, right? So, and we are a part, even though we're in the industry, we're all patients. We're at one time or another, we're healthcare professionals. We know our purpose, but we don't often know where it ties, right? Where our activities and contributions really tie to that overall how the society and our environment and medicine. And then the third, of course, is when a patient moves jobs, for example, right? If they change jobs, or if they change providers, their healthcare, their physicians, they should have a higher standard of care that they should probably expect, or quality of care that they should receive, no matter what town or where they live. And so these are somewhat of the premises for these three themes. So you and I have talked about medical affairs and how it can expand its roles and boundaries. I've seen firsthand how medical affairs teams don't just generate and communicate information, but they analyze data from publications, and they bring up a business case. They create a business case in order to address this gap in a particular patient population in pediatrics or in adults, for example, in order that ultimately leads to a new clinical study that's conducted and turned around within a few months, and that's presented as a late-breaking abstract that turns around an organization, or medical affairs teams that don't conduct research themselves, that conduct an analysis, however, and they initiate a head-to-head study in an industry where competitive head-to-head studies are very, few and far in between. That also contributes to increasing access to next generation products for thousands of patients, and in terms of formularies on healthcare plans, and with national recognition also from media as well in the public. So those are some of the highlights that I've seen. But how are you seeing medical affairs really aim a little bit higher recently or lately? What is there a particular trajectory that you're noticing or you're observing or you're encouraged by, Kyle?
I mean, I have to say, one, it's definitely still early stages, and it spans across medical affairs and clinical development. But really this explosion in real world evidence, and whether it's a phase 4 study or truly patient registry, real world clinic data, that explosion of that real world data, and the movement towards trying to have these decentralized clinical trials where you can really have that clinical trial wherever the patients are, versus trying to have these different sites all over the place. I think those are two examples where really trying to push the boundaries in terms of how can we get people the right patient populations, can we get people access to these clinical trials, get the experience that people are having in the real world with these medications, what barriers are still occurring in their treatments. A medication can be absolutely incredible, but if people don't understand it, don't understand who to use it with, if there's challenges with how it's administered that are stopping people from taking it, it doesn't matter how amazing it is if you're not able to generate that continuous data and feedback to really understand how you can improve and how you can overcome some of those barriers, which I think then spans across all three of those topics that you're discussing: the quality that they're getting, the continuity that they're getting, even in the EHR. I think oftentimes pharma is going to be the one that drives a lot of that, as pharma has done more and more claims database analysis, and have utilized electronic health records to help doctors identify those patients who are going to benefit from medication. I think some of that can be driven from medical affairs and the types of projects and ways that they're working with those systems, and understanding how by improving those systems, it's benefiting patients, it's benefiting insurance, it's benefiting the pharma companies as well, like really across the board of how can we improve that care and benefit all of them. I think that can reduce waste as well. So there's a lot of opportunity there, I think, across those different places where medical affairs can really help drive that innovation. Obviously does take collaboration with a lot of different groups. So similar to your event last year, and your focus there on collaboration. As we become more and more complex, collaboration is still so key. Whether it's between pharma companies, whether it's between pharma companies and doctors, and patients, whoever the case may be, but that collaboration is becoming more and more important as we move along.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely, Kyle. Let's get a little bit into some of the kinds of speakers that we can expect and the format for the event, who are going to amplify a lot of those ideas that you mentioned, including clinical trial, access to clinical trials, and decentralized clinical trials. In fact, one of the winners that I want to recognize from last year and finalists was from Probe, a Danish company that is doing some amazing work in really connecting and allowing patients to and the public who are not exposed to health care, for example, right? To understand what inclusion criteria and exclusion criteria really qualify them for what studies anywhere across the globe, and also connect with thought leaders, specialists that they would not otherwise have access to. And so that's what you made me think of with those comments with one of the competitors last year, whom Johan Lauritsen. Want to recognize him, as well as many others. So a little bit about the format, everyone. So this is what the event looks like at a glance. The registration is now live, so you can register. Okay. We are going to have an opening ceremony on September 18th, which is going to be live. It's going to be only half a day. It's going to require you to half a day of your time. We're going to have speakers, tremendous speakers, an Olympic gold medalist, a 5-time gold medalist, Gary Hall Jr., also patient advocate for diabetes, very active patient advocate. We're going to have a longevity pharma company CEO, James Payer, who has a platform for longevity companies. And so it's a very interesting format of a pharmaceutical company that empowers others as well, and that invests in others as well. So he's going to talk about preventive medicine and longevity medicine, as well as Harvard faculty professor in global healthcare quality, and very well-known, globally renowned healthcare quality expert, Rashad Massoud, Rob Adamowski, an executive and with both experience in commercial as well as leading medical affairs teams, Sue Giordano, vice president and head of medical affairs at Sunovion. And Rob Adamowski was at Prevention Bio, by the way, I needed to mention. And we'll have Jim Greffet, who's head of strategy and ESG strategy, who's going to talk about ESG. That's to be confirmed, but we're keeping our fingers crossed. He's from Lilly. And so we're going to have a very diverse lineup of speakers, Kyle, that I'm really excited about, as well as Johnny Nat. Yes, I forgot to mention Johnny Nat is confirmed. He has spent over 30 years at Procter & Gamble in sales and manufacturing, 12 different functions, believe it or not, in the same company. And he's going to talk about the interplay between humility and intellect in innovation and healthcare as well. He's a certified emotional intelligence coach. And we're going to have introductions. We're going to very briefly introduce all of the competitors whom we're just excited to hear about. Now, there are some differences from last year's event to this year, because as you see here, there's going to be 2 rounds of elimination. Top 10 ideas will be voted on after 1 week. And then after 2 weeks, top 8 ideas will remain. Those who are eliminated are still able to vote. Attendees have a 50% vote contribution to the final vote. But the event will not be free this time. It will be $350 for attendees and $250 for competitors. We have invited an all-star panel of judges. And also, we're raising the stakes here because Amadev Pharma has committed to helping encourage innovation, accelerate innovation in medical affairs and pharma. And therefore, we're going to award $10,000 to the gold medal, $5,000 to the silver medal, and $3,000 to the bronze medal winners, Kyle, on October 4th. So we have a busy fall coming up. The event will not be 1 month. It will be fully virtual, with the live stream component only at the beginning in the opening ceremony and at the closing ceremony. And it will be about 16 days of intense competition, my friends. Let's see, Kyle, I want to ask you about some of these changes and why do you think some of our colleagues should enter? Before I get into some of the criteria and ideas, what are some of your very very objective and personal insight, and that you would like to share with our colleagues?
I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons to enter into this. Sometimes the ideas that you have are, beyond a single company or beyond, your disease state or your company. Something that you're thinking about for a future business for yourself, whatever the case may be. Like sometimes they're just your ideas that require a forum like this. I also think, again, that collaboration and ability to get feedback on ideas, the more input that you can get those ideas, and that breadth of feedback that you can get in terms of diverse backgrounds. This is a very unique opportunity to do so in a safe space where you can gather that feedback on your ideas, find out those things that maybe you're not thinking about yet, because say exposed to people that 30, 40, 50 years of medical affairs experience. You also get people that have 2 or 3 years of medical affairs experience. But all of them are oftentimes going to give you a very unique perspective, and can be the difference between an idea going somewhere and an idea dying. And then as well, I think everybody within science, and especially within medical affairs, I think we all have at least a little bit of a competitive side to us, and the fun opportunity where, again, it's competitive in a fun, safe place, but competitive nonetheless. What can you put out there? How can you convince the audience and the judges that your idea should be that top $10,000 prize?
Yeah, great summary, Kyle. I'll provide my perspective as well, of course, for why I decided to make this event a little bit more exclusive, right? In some regard, but nevertheless, hopefully, we spread the word about it, and because I think it's important to make the right investment in ourselves and in our colleagues at the right time, regardless of where we are. And I can think of my own time, or very early in my career, where I was a postdoctoral fellow. In my first role, I was working part-time also, in a pharmacy, and I came across this one event where I would network with a lot of my potential colleagues, right, in this function, the field medical affairs, the medical science liaison function. Given that at the time, the company where I was a contractor for 1 year as a postdoctoral fellow had been undergoing a hostile takeover, I was uncertain in many regards about my future, right? So I called on the people that I developed true meaningful relationships, and they're the ones that ended up opening those opportunities. But that event was actually quite expensive as well, for me, at the time. But I made a conscious choice to invest that money into that event, and I deliberately networked a lot, as you would imagine. And at that time, I was not big into networking, Kyle. I can tell you. Okay, I didn't have much of a LinkedIn profile. I definitely didn't go on LinkedIn Live,
Mm-hmm.
But one of the people that I networked with there actually resulted in an interview, in my first interview. So I'm calling out to people who to make the right investment. Last year's experience was very unique, Kyle. We had feedback that we were providing to each other constantly, which we don't usually do in medical affairs, in the form of voting, informally as well, through comments, through chat,
Mm-hmm.
and also we demonstrated agility in our thinking. Right, the top idea of the year winner actually started at a 4th place, but they came from behind. They edged out. They had a startup, and they edged out large global companies such as Takeda, Astellas, and Roche, who had also entered some great submissions as well. But it was interesting to see how much engagement there was, how much personality and a shared experience that we all shared. And that's why I want, my vision is to really create a community of Olympians, if you will, among pharma and biotech professionals here, right? There were a number of economic opportunities that were also publicly disclosed. There was a startup, didn't really win the overall prize, but made it to the semifinals, but publicly shared with all the attendees the impact of the event on their success, on their startup success. There was a second one that came in, I believe, won the bronze medal overall, and won one idea category, one event category, that has raised $5 million in the first seed round for their startup as well. So we had a tremendous caliber of ideas last year, Kyle. And I'll also mention that we had an Olympic trials this year, also in March, which I don't know if I've told you, since I haven't spoken and connected with you in quite a while. But we had a live version of this event, which was a Olympic trials at the Medical Affairs Professional Society meeting in March, where the top ideas reserved their spot for this event. Okay, and so they're automatically qualified. They're automatically going to be competing here at this event, and so that the interaction, the type of interaction that took place there, it was also something that is difficult to describe, but it was certainly different than than the type of engagement and performance. And I still have a lot of those ideas from those boards here, but you saw a lot of competition, unravel in front of you, and also the quality of the ideas was amazing. So let us know if you have any comments or questions, please, in this chat. LinkedIn, YouTube, we're live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. But let's go over some of the details now before we wrap up, Kyle. And feel free to ask me any questions also, Kyle, that you have.
I'd love to hear more about the submissions for this year. And I will comment as you're pulling that up.
Sure.
The collaboration and that networking. Networking is huge, no matter where you are in life. So the opportunity to network with people who are trying to advance medical affairs and advance healthcare in general is, always going to be valuable. And I would bet that there were people who attended last year. Not say that they stole ideas from those presenting, but I would guarantee that just being around that and hearing those ideas being presented, that they had some of their own light bulb moments go off, or own musings that started to occur in their, whether it be for just their day-to-day or for something that they're submitting this year.
Yep. Yes, absolutely. We had probably dozens of topics in our community, and so I have lots of metrics that actually indicate exactly that, and lots of articles and things that we need to follow up still, even this year. So, Kyle, this is the registration. It's already live. I'm going to drop the link to the registration on this comment on this live afterwards. You can also go to Amadea Pharma on my website and register there. A little bit about who should register. As Kyle, as you alluded to earlier, I'm really actually broadening the base of our competitors, our potential competitors this year, a little bit more, Kyle. So that's another difference from last year, where I'm opening it up to individuals with current or previous experience as an employee, consultant, and volunteer throughout life sciences and healthcare institutions, who within a medical affairs function, or also within a different specialty that interacts with medical affairs, R&D, sales, marketing. So if you are in sales, if you're in marketing, if you're in R&D, and you have an idea to improve our collaboration, or if you're of an idea that's designed for medical affairs, you're also open to compete and to attend as well. So that's the one important difference, and that's why I think it also is important to mention here in terms of who you'll reshare this live with and this event with, Kyle, and those who are watching this. Now, the deadline to register is September 18th, 9 a.m. Okay, so we talked about the registration types already. Now, what kind of ideas should competitors submit? They can be a current, draft, or finished proposal that had to have initiated or had to have started after September 1st, 2022. So if you're a competitor last year, but you refined that idea, you have a new product, new idea, but you started it after September, we're looking for new ideas, basically, and you're still eligible to compete. It can be a systematic analysis, a new social media policy, for example. But all of these ideas, or any of these ideas, should somehow describe how it is intended to elevate your organization globally, or the medical affairs function, other organizations, and also to advance the healthcare access, continuity, and quality, as we talked about already. There are some restrictions that you should, of course, think about. If you are affiliated with an employer or contract organization, make sure that it's a non-proprietary idea, or approve that idea by your employer by affiliation. Right? Limit to one idea per competitor. And if there's product information that you're submitting, or a therapeutic area specific information, and it's in the public, then it has to be in the public domain, or it has to be owned, or you have to own it yourself. Okay. And so those are some of the restrictions, which I think are pretty intuitive. Now, in addition to those three, top idea of the year award winners, we're going to recognize people who are actively contributing to the forum. In terms of competitors, the top active ideators, and also different features of the idea will be recognized, as you see here. And there's a theme here that I used with track and field, Kyle. So I asked you that question earlier. Track and field is one of my favorite sports and to follow during the Olympics, but not the only. So water polo is others as well. And I love wrestling, by the way, as well, to watch it. Although I don't have a prior experience in that sport myself. The evaluation format is from the judges and attendees, 50% each. Okay. And these are the criteria. These are the 5 criteria the judges will use to score 1 to 10 for each, for a maximum total score of 50. And at the weekly time points, they will be voting, okay, to determine the elimination. Now, for those companies who are also interested in showcasing their contributions to life sciences, this is an amazing, I think this is an incredible opportunity in a very different, unique, and memorable format, which is different from a typical conference that we attend ourselves. And so if you're interested in sponsoring this event, please reach out to me after this live via LinkedIn, via Amadev Pharma, the contact page on our website as well. And it really is, I think it's going to be determined by which companies are looking at this event over the long term. Because, last year, Kyle, a lot of people may have thought that, look, this is just something, this is a one-time event, right? Or it's an episode. But Amadev Pharma has a long-term approach to it. And, just like in innovation, it takes people to be in the business of inspiration, really, in order to innovate, right? And you have to be that first person sometimes to go on LinkedIn Live, for example, right? Like we did, right, at the Tokyo Olympics opening ceremony a couple of years ago. And so too for the sponsors who are vested by their mission and vision to demonstrate more closely how we tie our activities in medical affairs to outcomes, patient outcomes, and healthcare quality, continuity, and access, to maybe consider sponsoring this event as well. So I welcome you guys. Whether you're a sponsor, you're a competitor, you're an attendee, I'm absolutely excited. Kyle, let me know if you have any other thoughts, and I hope to see you participate this year. You, Kyle, and our group of colleagues and that we formed as well via LinkedIn. Any other comments or questions that you have, and anybody else, feel free to drop a comment after this live as well.
No, I don't think any other questions. Definitely, I'm excited for this event, and will absolutely be at least registering as an attendee. Haven't decided yet whether I'm going to submit my own idea or not this year.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you there, Kyle, and sharing this experience together with you and building on it year after year.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much, Kyle. Have a great day, everyone.
Well, take care, everybody.